For me, it's just about getting up every day and trying to be the absolute best version of myself, doing my best, doing my actual best, which is going to entail getting out of my comfort zone often. I find that the easiest way to kind of change things up and venture out of one's comfort zone, because even for me, even though I do things every day that are really uncomfortable and are considered to be uncomfortable for normal people, after you do something for a certain period of time, eventually you kind of get used to it. It gets a little comfortable. But the easiest thing I think people can do, and the easiest thing that I do that basically helps condition my mind to be okay with change and embrace change, is constantly changing up my fitness.
What's up, man? Welcome
going
back
on?
to Full Fueled. It's good to be here. It's your host, Dr. Alfred Alessi.
And Matt Tag.
And we have a very special guest today, a rock star, actually, someone who fits exactly into our culture and the message that we're trying to spread, human optimization. Chris Cavalini is a former Navy diver, a Forbes-Featured entrepreneur, the CEO and founder of Nutrition Solutions, a premier healthy meal delivery service, and the host of the personal development podcast, the Start Today podcast. Chris also has a peak performance coaching business for men. His clientele include elite pro athletes, WWE superstars, entrepreneurs, and driven men who want to dominate in each of the primary human metrics: body, mindset, money, and life. Chris's goal, and what he believes to be his destiny in life, is to help people produce positive, lasting change and become the upgraded versions of themselves. He spends his days educating, coaching, and mentoring others so they can experience the same. Chris has battled extreme adversity, hardship, and discomfort that has led him to be where he is today. He's here to help you and everyone to learn how to become comfortable being uncomfortable. Man, so you've just created such an awesome culture. And I think if you had to say, I'm going to put words in your mouth and you can obviously correct me, but like your culture is why you're successful, that you've created in this business. Like,
100%.
If it was weakness or excuses or any of that, you would not be where you are today. I demand high level.
I'm not an operator anymore, so I'm not at Nutrition Solutions every day.
Yeah.
I have an amazing team in place that I trust, that I've trained, that understand what to do. They know what to do, regardless if I tell them what to do or not.
Every time.
No,
Yeah.
of course not. And you know, for a lot of years it was like that, of course. But as you grow, things need to change. I mean, things cannot change, or you can't grow without change.
Right.
A lot of times people want change, but they don't want to change.
Scared of it.
And one of the things that I started to do back in 2016 when I started to really prioritize culture and the development of my team is just giving ownership to people, giving people ownership and basically empowering them to make decisions on their own, obviously with certain parameters, right? But once I started to do that, everything started to change. We started to go a lot further, faster.
Yeah.
You know, people, not only that, they were taking more pride in their job. They felt like, wow, like, okay, this is mine. I own this.
Yeah.
And when people have a sense of ownership, they tend to take a great deal of pride in whatever that task or whatever that responsibility is.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because I think for me, and with us trying to hire and eventually down the line having to hire more as we grow, I by nature am kind of a control freak. I'm like, I know that this works. I like it done this way. It's worked this way. Somebody comes in, I try to like micromanage them too much. So that's definitely something I need to work on and continue. But
I don't think that that's a bad thing. If I mean, look, if you're the guy and you have high standards and you want things to be a certain way, I think that that's completely fine. I think it's just a matter of ensuring that the people that you bring in understand what the standard is.
Yeah.
They clearly
Very
understand
clear
what
expectations.
success entails and what success looks like to you, and then they can act in accordance with it. Like if I want something done at Nutrition Solutions, or if something needs to get done, I am going to talk to my team and tell them, like, look, here's what I want to happen. You guys figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah.
And they typically do. And sometimes, I mean, most times they'll do it a lot better than if I otherwise did it on my own. Yeah. But of course, there's always going to be times where maybe it wasn't as good as if I would have done it on my own.
Yeah.
But it's good enough.
It's good enough.
70%.
Yeah.
That's the stat.
That's
If you can find somebody who will do something 70% as good as you would, treat that person well. Take care of that person, because nobody's ever going to care nearly as much as we would like them to. We would like to think that they would.
Yeah.
But nobody is going to be as invested.
Right.
But 70%, I mean, when we think 70%, we think, oh, that's kind of like average, right? C minus. But as it relates to this, you just have to think how much faster you're going to be able to ascend if you have a bunch of hitters making decisions. You guys are constantly just fucking making moves, constantly making shit happen, constantly moving the needle.
That's huge. Yeah. Speaking of culture, because you're a phenomenal storyteller.
Thank you.
I love your stories. But there was an incident where you had a technical error and a bunch of orders got messed up.
How did you hear about that?
So obviously before this, I wanted to get prepared and kind of have a little background. I read about it on an article, something in the system, and a bunch of people got the wrong order, and you freaking ate probably a ton of money on that, but you made it right. You did the right thing. Tell us what happened, man.
Man,
if you don't want to talk about
it, no, it's been a long time since I told the story, but I think that was either in 2016 or 2017, and I think maybe at that point we were using spreadsheets or some shit, sort of archaic, ancient technology, that we shouldn't have been utilizing, and basically, we had hundreds of orders basically be assembled and sent out incorrectly. Think of it like this. Think of like a spreadsheet where you have, let's say you have 400 names on the spreadsheet, and all the names stay in the same column, but all of the information moves down one. Basically like that. So basically,
that's
and
anxiety right there.
And honestly, that cost. That cost a lot. I mean, I don't recall, tens of thousands of dollars, certainly. Yeah. But I wanted to make it right because our clients rely on us and depend on us and invest in our service to help them streamline the process of getting in the best shape of their life. And this is a responsibility I take very seriously, and I want my team to take it seriously as well. And during that time, we were just starting to create the culture and create the core values within the culture. And it's important that when you have a culture and you have core values and you have a mission statement, the core values aren't just on the wall. Right. The mission statement isn't just something you talk about once in a while, but you speak in terms of the core values. And help people is one of our core values, as is take initiative. And I just saw what was happening there as an opportunity. It's like, look, it can't get any worse than this. Other than us not making this right and losing the trust completely of all of these people. And basically we just deployed teams all throughout the state of Florida to do redeliveries. We brought a team in. They worked for 36 hours straight to get all of the orders prepared. And then we basically deployed people all throughout the state of Florida to do home deliveries. Absolutely crazy, super fucking inefficient. Looking back on it, like, would there have been a better way to handle that? Perhaps. But at the time,
you did what you had to do.
I did what I thought was the right thing to do.
Yeah. If you want to hear your question answered live on the show, submit it to ask@fullfuel.com. Check out the Optimizers program where we build max muscle, improve longevity, and get guys freaking shredded so that they can crush it at life for as long as possible.
Live full fueled. Live beyond limits, baby.
It was the right thing to do. I mean, you saved your trust, your reputation, but like the impact that you made on your team.
That was,
they saw that and were like, this is the guy.
That was the biggest thing, I think, is the team saw how serious I was and how committed I was to our clients and to our mission. And once they see that, then they're going to buy in a little more, right? They're going to start acting a little more in accordance with that. So any opportunity that you can have to demonstrate, to your team, to your clients, to anyone that you give a shit, I certainly think should be explored.
Set a standard. I love it.
We actually run a coaching program similar probably to like what you do. We lead guys through optimization. It's called the Optimizers program, and it's trying to touch on everything: fitness, mindset, nutrition. We just make it super easy for them to get great results if they're busy or whatever it might be. Is that kind of like what you're doing with your coaching program as well?
So my coaching program is high level coaching. It's $50,000 for the year, paid in full. I'm dealing with at that price point. Obviously, I'm dealing with people who are already established.
High level guys.
Higher level guys, and we there's a multitude of things that we walk them through. It depends on their industry, depends on what their goals are, but it always comes down to the, the main pillars, right? Like fitness, finance, family.
Yeah.
So we basically iron out, dial them in across the board with all that. And, the good part about, where I'm at is I'm very fortunate that the people that I work with, they're high level people who want to do better. So I don't really, I don't, and they're heavily invested in the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's very minimal resistance. There's very minimal resistance, which is fantastic because it allows me to help them get results quickly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's great. I think, and we were talking about this, we'd love to like partner up with the meals for this program too, because we help them through. We run full blood panel at the beginning, then we get them optimized nutrition supplementation, but it's more of like a meal guide plan, not so much like here's your meals.
Yeah.
So that might be something down the line, man, that you could help us with, because we'd love to fine tune it as much as possible.
Yeah, man.
This is one thing that I think that you've really done really well too, not only within your organization, but obviously outside. So this ability of like, I feel like maybe you might have a different take on this, but the desperate need for community. Like, I think people gravitate towards that. I think you were saying you even find that within your organization through that level of resistance of working out, there's more a galvanized community in that. Take us through in terms of how you're building your brand, how you're building maybe even community around your brand right now. Is that something you're proud of? I know that it's awesome, obviously, following you and your story. So
yeah, I think the people that we surround ourselves with, I mean, I don't think I know who we surround ourselves with influences our standards. The people in your life are either objectively making your life better or making your life worse.
Yeah.
We all have heard the saying, we're the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Everybody's heard that. Yet most people are still hanging out with fucking losers, right?
They don't change it. Yeah.
So being around the right people is important, and a lot of times people DM me and they say, look, I always hear you talking about the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people and surrounding yourself with people who are driven, who are disciplined, who are, want to succeed and all that. Like, how do I do that? It's like, look, if you're a low value person currently, okay, you can't do that. You can't just, because look, high achievers don't want to hang around with low performers. And oftentimes low performers don't like being around high achievers because it makes them feel a bit uncomfortable. But if you're just starting out and you're looking to kind of, create a network and, start being around people who can, who are driven, who are hungry, who are disciplined, who want to win, who want to see you fucking win, the best thing that you can do is actually become that person yourself.
Yeah.
Become that person yourself. Create the identity of that person. And then once you actually are that person, you'll start attracting people who are like-minded and have similar interests.
Yeah. A lot of really successful people talk about that. They're like, I started by emulating this person that I, was doing what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like I just became like a second version of like their journey. And that's
what's interesting about that too is like, I'll be honest with you, man. I used to be that person that was like, oh man, I wanted to be there. But like, you kind of talk shit about that person, right? And then I'm like, dude, I got to retrain that mind of thought. Dude, the great job. Like, you want to empower people as they're winning because, dude, when I'm coming up, I want people to empower me. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to be that naysayer. Like jealous, so I literally had to, I think over the past 10 years, how I want my marriage, how I want to steward my kids and set a standard in my household and set a standard in my business. Dude, I got to be speaking that into life. Yeah. And so as people are winning, I'm like, dude, like I want to lift you up. I'm like, dude, good job, man. Good shit. Let's keep going.
Yeah, I love winning. I love celebrating the wins of other people, no matter how big or small. Yeah. Every day I wake up in the morning, I have a gratitude jar that I write a little message in there, something I'm grateful for. And this morning it was for my Stairmaster. Right? But it's for basic things that, I'm grateful for this person. I'm grateful for you guys inviting me on here. Like,
dude, thanks for coming.
But being in that mindset of gratitude and being in that just constant state of just positivity is going to help you circumvent and again force the result of creating more wins and just being intentional about it. Being intentional, and a very simple way that you can be intentional about attracting more wins into your life is celebrating the wins of other people.
Yeah.
Be happy for people when you see them succeed. Be happy if you see somebody that has made some progress in some area. Compliment that person. Let them know. because your kind words, I mean, ultimately be the catalyst that keeps them going. You know, maybe they're about to quit. Maybe they don't see it, but like little things like that, I think make a massive, massive difference in your quality of life and your mindset and just your ability to create the reality that, you know, you want, which, I mean, people watching this, hopefully the reality you want entails endless wins.
Yeah. Man, you saying that made me think, like, this is something I've definitely changed, but I used to be like competitive with other people that were in the same kind of space, but it's like, you can all win. We can all win. There's like plenty of wins out there, right? It's not like by somebody else doing well, that lowers the amount of like success you can have. You can,
it's abundance.
Yeah, exactly.
That's scarcity mindset shit.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, from somebody who lived in a place of scarcity and had a scarcity mindset, the majority of my life, I can speak very closely to that fact. A victim mindset is the most unattractive quality that you can have. And not only that, it is the most detrimental to your own existence. When you make yourself a victim, you forfeit your ability to grow, and you make it effectively impossible to experience happiness because you're a victim. If you're a victim, how can you be happy? If you're a victim, how can you grow? You know, people have a victim mindset. They focus on excuses and reasons to quit as opposed to solutions. And they complain about everything. Nothing in their mind, nothing is their fault. And there's one thing that everybody who has a victim mindset has in common. Every single person on this planet who has a victim mindset isn't aware that they have a victim mindset.
They need someone to call them out, man.
And until you are.
I learned that book that I actually shared at the beginning of this, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. I remember I was reading a chapter in there, and just it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and it just made me realize, holy shit, I actually have a victim. I'm like, I felt like this guy was like, wrote this book for me. A victim mindset is something everybody needs to be aware of. Obviously, there's varying degrees of victim mindset, but any trace of victim mindset qualities one may possess needs to be addressed, because a victim mindset will, in fact, destroy your fucking life.
Yeah.
As always, this episode is brought to you by Nuticious, convenient optimized superfood nutrition powered by nootropics, designed to elevate your physical and mental performance no matter what life throws at you. Nuticious has been proven to improve cognition, boost memory, and speed up mental and physical processing. Alfie, tell everyone where they can get it.
Yep, head on over to nutup.com to experience these benefits for yourself and live beyond limits today.
Yeah, one thing about you though, and I can honestly feel it when we even reached out to you. Like, there's this element that I brought up in the last podcast we had, but like, there's this complete presence about somebody, right? And that's where I think joy lies. Is like, our mind can be operating in the future, and I think when you're in a growth mode, you want to go there all the time. I want to go there. I want to go there. And then the victim is that, like, you're living in the past.
Correct.
But then there's this sweet spot right in the presence, right? When you're reading that book and you're like, dude, this is for me. And I get that from you, man. I just get like complete presence. And you giving our time, man.
Thank you, brother.
Very grateful.
Thank you.
And I also, going along to like you surround yourself with people, that's who you become kind of thing. It's communities, or your accountability is from the people close to you as well. Like, for example, like Matt, one of my best friends, will call me out on stuff. And like, I'm not going to internalize all the time and like want to hear that, right? That's probably the hardest thing when it comes to like getting out of that victim thing, is like being like, damn, I am in a victim mindset.
Yeah.
People don't want to like have the hard conversation with themselves. So you have a close person say it to you, you're like, shit.
That's really important.
I gotta change.
That's really important that you said that, because there are times, I like, it's in our biology. I mean, we're biologically evolved to seek out the path of least resistance.
That's right.
100%.
Right. So, with that said, that means change is difficult. The reason change is difficult is because it requires a tremendous amount of energy. You have these neural pathways in your brain that have been created over the course of time because you've done things a certain way. So if you begin to change your behavior, even though that change is a positive thing, it's going to come with a bit of resistance. And I think the best thing that anybody can do when they're looking to make any sort of meaningful changes in their life, whether it's with their fitness, whether it's with their finance, with their career, their family, is immerse yourself in personal development and do everything in your power to cultivate a growth mindset.
That's right.
Because a growth mindset is, I mean, it's the key to endless prosperity. It's the key to waking up every day in a state of gratitude, right? Because from my experience, I've learned that it's fundamentally impossible to create more or get more if you're not actually grateful for what you currently have.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to figure that out. But once I did figure it out, it sped up the process quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, you know, I demonstrate it where it's like there's a small degree of separation between you and me, although you might be slightly better looking than me.
Thank you.
But the habit formation of an individual,
Yeah.
slight degree of separation. And when you choose to create that level of curiosity and that growth mindset, what I love, what you hit on neural pathways, it's like we all have these, like, the neuroplasticity within us to create, you know, these firings of those the hedonic hotspots, they call them. And when those things start firing off, you have more engines in your brain going, and you're naturally recreating the cerebral cortex. There's also this little thing in the brain called the basal ganglia. That's the motor neuron that basically gets you moving. But you have the choice whether to start moving that thing or not.
Correct.
That's going to fire all these other things off. When you choose to do that, you maybe start reading faster. You start learning, like I'm working on Spanish and I'm picking up on different, you know, another language that I've been in the past couple of years. So there's these small things, but like it's a choice, right? That creates that momentum, and then you're just again in that presence of life. So
Yeah, I don't want to be on here preachy telling people what they should do.
Yeah.
I think though that there's a lot of people that are depressed, a lot of people that are discontent, a lot of people that are sad and feeling sorry for themselves. And I think feeling sorry for yourself and being sad is a complete fucking waste of time. Okay, you're either content where you are or you're savagely pissed off to change it. And at the end of the day, you know, the reality of it is we weren't put on this planet to be stagnant. Stagnation is going to result in feelings of depression or hopelessness, just in general dissatisfaction with your quality of life. So I think the easiest way to live a fruitful, abundant existence is just to be intentional with making progress. And you don't have to be as intentional as me. Like, I mean, I sometimes, the shit that I do and the standards that I have, I could probably come off as come across like a psycho to the uninitiated.
That's what you need, though. Man.
But at the end of the day, you know, people just need to take the feedback, right? You know, feeling like shit is actually a good thing. If you're not feeling very good at any given time, it's a good thing. That is a biological trigger that is trying to communicate to you that something that you're doing or not doing is out of alignment with who you are. So we got to take that feedback and we have to take corrective action accordingly. If you want things to be different, you have to force the result. You don't just deserve to wake up and feel good every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish that wasn't the case. I didn't make that rule.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't my, was my decision. Yeah. You don't deserve to feel good.
Yeah.
You deserve what you deserve. And if you're doing things that are going to result in you feeling good, then that's where you need to be. But too many people, I think, are, you know, dissatisfied with their quality of life, but they're not actively doing anything to bridge the gap between where they are and where they want to be. And, you know, the thing is, man, like anybody who's hearing this, regardless of 20 years from now, you'd give anything to be this age again, right? To be this healthy, have this much energy and have this much time on your hands.
Yeah.
So, you know, the time to step up and go do some protagonist shit is now.
Yeah.
That's right. You're the only one holding yourself back, right? I mean, like, and that's the whole victim thing we just talked about. You start blaming other people. Well, if it wasn't for my kids and my wife, and I've heard you talk about this before. You're
I
like,
think if
that shit can't hold you back, right?
No, I think using your kids as an excuse is the most dishonorable thing that you can do.
Yeah.
Especially as a man. You know, I don't want to, obviously men and women are different. Usually my message is directed towards men, but using your kids as an excuse to justify being a fat beer gut man tit having You know,
Get
like
'em.
average motherfucker. Like
roast.
I think it's bullshit. I also think being fat is disrespectful to God. I honestly
100%.
believe that your kids should be the excuse as to why you have to be the strongest, fittest, most capable version of yourself.
Yeah.
So again, I think the difference between victim mindset and growth mindset. A victim-minded individual is, oh, my kids and the time and soccer practice, etc. Growth-minded person, like, no, well, these kids are the spark, the fuel, the motivation to get me up and get me moving on the days that I don't fucking feel like it, because I have to be the best version for themselves. Because I have to be the best provider that I can be for them, and I have to set the best example.
But you know what I think about with that is like when I turned like 14, 15, and I started being able to like beat my dad in like basketball or something, and like that probably pissed him off. And I got two boys, I got twin boys, and I'm like, I want to delay that for as long as I can. They ain't freaking beating me ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to be 85 and dunking on them, right?
Yeah.
And that's an example for them that like you got to live hard, man. You got to live your life to this this standard that like you set, man, and we all are kind of preaching on this episode, man.
Yeah. I think it's all about a standard. Talking just a few minutes, because I really kind of want to dial in.
Sure.
As far as what you're doing in longevity, obviously you said you're 41 now. I'm 38. I'm going into some things. I went on a first cycle of peptides. I'm thinking of other things to kind of promote the my metabolic flexibility later in life, where I'm constantly improving. I've had red light sauna, where I'm going into the cold plunge. I have those as steadies that I like putting myself into an uncomfortable environment. But what are things that you're doing from an entrepreneurship? You obviously live a really busy lifestyle. Maybe not busy, I would say more productive lifestyle.
Right.
Yeah, I like that word better.
Active.
Lifestyle. What are you doing to most optimally create longevity within your lifestyle?
I mean, honestly, the main things is I train very hard. I train very hard often. I'm in the gym 6 days a week. I would say 3 out of the 6 workouts are at a very high level of intensity.
Yeah.
No more than 25 to 30 minutes, because I don't rest. I go from one exercise to the other and do it in circuits. And I love training like that, because when you're training like that, you know, not only, and I'm doing a lot of athletic movements and functional movements, it gives you a more aesthetic physique than just throwing weights around. Weights are good, of course, and I do lift weights. But training like that, you know, it's going to get your heart rate up, and it's like a active form of meditation, because
100%.
you can't think of whatever problem you have going on or whatever thing you were stressed out about before the workout. You were just trying to make it through that next exercise and get through that next repetition. Yeah, and breathing, and that's the other massively important element of the way that I train. I think breath work is one of the most underrated life hacks that there is. In 2019, I started to do breath work. I went on a 4-day ayahuasca retreat, and part of the curriculum was breath work. So I got turned on to it in that regard. But when I train that way, I'm breathing so hard the entire time. And the reason I feel so good after the fact, I believe, is because of the oxygen that I'm taking in and the increase in my respiratory rate. So there's so many benefits to high intensity training, not to be confused with high intensity interval training, right? High intensity functional training. Like I said, I do sauna, the cold plunge. My diet's clean. I've been taking testosterone. Well, I mean, obviously, I've sold steroids for many years, and I've done a lot of cycles of steroids throughout my lifetime. Certainly, for the last 4 years, I have been prescribed testosterone. I take 200 milligrams of cypionate every week. Actually, 180 milligrams.
Okay.
Say 200 because that's the number most people associate.
Yeah.
I don't think that at this stage of my life, you know, doing like full blast steroid cycles is going to add any value. You know, when you're young and you're stupid and you're unaware. But, you know, now that I get blood work done quarterly, like, you know, I'm measuring every area of my life that I'm looking to improve. I measure. So I'm getting quarterly blood work. And if I'm, you know, doing a full blast cycle and I see my markers are off, I don't want to have to deal with that. So it's almost like an accountability measure, but not to say that I won't ever again.
It can be done safely. I mean, you know that, right?
It can be done safely if you're not an idiot and you understand what you're doing and you recognize that more is not better.
Yeah,
Because
more clean product too. Right?
More is not better.
Yeah.
But yeah, testosterone I think is amazing. Testosterone is a man's most powerful weapon. It is literally what makes a man a man. I think testosterone or lack thereof is a huge problem plaguing our society. I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, look, I don't think that it can be contested that times have changed, and we are living through a period of human history where there's just a lot of weak people.
Yeah.
You know, in World War II, we had 15, 16, and 17-year-old boys who lied about their age that they could go across the world and kill Nazis. In 2024, we have young boys that think they're girls, and we have grown men that are lying about their gender so they could compete in women's sports.
We've come a long way, bro. That's
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with just this epidemic of low testosterone.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's nothing that influences testosterone production more than your lifestyle choices, your diet, your exercise. And the thing is, a lot of people don't exercise. 79% of the population get zero exercise.
That's insane.
Zero.
I heard 90% of once you turn 30, that will never, 90% of the population, I think it was domestically in the United States, will never get themselves out of breath again.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Intentionally.
That's insane.
Yeah. So the issue with that, I mean, look, nobody here has ever seen a really old fat person, and I don't think anybody ever thinks about that, especially in our you know, 30s, even your 40s.
It doesn't make it that long. Yeah.
No, you don't make it that long. You've never seen like an obese old person. It just doesn't happen. And training is important. And I think a lot of the times the people's biggest, you know, I don't have time, right? I don't have time. I'm busy. But a big one that people say is I don't have the energy, and I understand that because if you're fueling yourself the steadfast diet of McDonald's,
You don't
and
actually have
Arby's,
energy.
right. If you're consuming the standard American diet, you
Empty.
will literally not have energy to work out. So people say you don't feel like it. Well, start eating better.
Right.
Start eating better, not so you can get in the gym and train, but so you can live a life that's actually worth living.
Yeah. And like going to we had Jay Campbell on the show, who's actually how we connected. He talks all about testosterone and optimization. And I myself, I'm only 32, and it's not like my testosterone was low, but I was like, man, I want to optimize this. And so I got on enclomiphene, which is basically like a synthetic
Clomid, I know what it is.
Clomid. Yeah, so it basically tells your body to produce testosterone. But I'm probably next, you know, when I finish this dose, I'm probably going to just get on TRT and get on a dose that's appropriate for my age and run through a doctor, right? The way that it should be. But that's so I can live optimally, right? I'm not trying to hack like anything crazy, but I love the way I feel when I have that higher testosterone level. And it's just...
Yeah, having high testosterone is important, and it's going to measurably improve every metric of a man's life.
100%.
It's going to improve your energy, your mood, your attitude, right? Your performance, the manner of which you age, your sex drive. Sex drive is one that is not talked about very much. And, you know, you guys are a bit younger. I'm sure your audience is around the same age. But as you get into for most people who are eating terribly and not taking care of themselves, they'll start to feel it in their 30s. But once you kind of get into your late 30s, like things start to change a little bit with your sex drive. Even for me, like I used to have like, and if I'm being honest, it's actually, I'm glad that it kind of reduced a little bit, because there was a period of time where I was the fucking animal and I couldn't get anything done. But you know, I just think it's as you get older, you start to become more conscious of why it's important to take care of yourself, why it's important. It's not about, you know, having amazing abs, although abs are important. I think abs are something every man should strive for. You know, there's 22 million millionaires in the United States, but only 3 million people who have visible abs. So what that loosely translates to, I believe, is that abs are actually the ultimate status symbol, because unlike a Lamborghini, a Rolex, or a yacht, you can't buy them. You have to work really hard for them.
Earn that shit.
And people might see this as like, oh, well, being a millionaire, well, I'm both. Okay, I want to make sure I'm both. I'm a millionaire and I have abs, and I encourage people to strive to get both as well.
That's right.
Let's go. Hell yeah.
The 1% of the 1% of the 1%.
And you kind of touched on it, man. We're at a point where It is actually, guys. The stats are alarming. I don't know the number, like the percentage, but guys who are in their 30s that are taking Viagra and stuff like this because their libido and that sex
what did
drive is
Jay
not
Campbell
there.
say about that? That it was like there was a statistic
It's an
of guys
insane number.
dying from taking Viagra because they had a heart attack. It was some ridiculous
So,
statistic. It was wild.
Look, if anybody here, or if you guys have anybody here watching, or you guys have an Alexa, do you guys use Alexa at all?
Oh yeah, the Amazon Alexa. Yeah.
So if you ask Alexa, hey Alexa, is it safe to take 100 milligrams of Viagra? Don't ask me how I know this. But so 100 milligram, they sell them in 100, 50s, 20s, 100s. 100 milligrams of Viagra is a lot of Viagra for the uninitiated. And if you actually ask Alexa that, she will then spend the next 2 minutes talking about all of the possible risks and side effects, cardiac arrest, like literally like crazy shit that people I don't think are even conscious of, because obviously, Viagra is, I mean, it's big pharma.
Right.
Yeah.
People don't,
It's
I don't
safe.
think,
Don't worry
I
about it.
don't
Just
think
take
people
this.
look
You can
at
be fat. Yeah.
Viagra and Cialis is the same category as like antidepressants and all this other bullshit medication they try to get you hooked on forever so they
it's
can,
novel. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying don't use them as a situational tool from time to time, but you should probably be attacking all the other pillars first so you can actually have like a real sex drive, a true sex drive.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I think it's important for a man to be horny. I honestly do.
Yeah.
I think it's very important as a young man, as you enter your your real man years, which is in your 30, like you have to be a little horny, because that is what's going to give you that drive, that masculine drive to go kick ass in the world and make things happen.
Honestly, I brought this up the other day, but like one of my favorite books, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and it's a mindset. But chapter 11 is sex transmutation, and when you can know when to focus sex, and then know when to take that natural sex drugs and divert it to whatever you're focused on.
Yeah.
And for you, it's business, man. You've grown up in 8-figure business. But you can then devote it to a woman when we need to devote it to a woman. If you can separate those, man, you are. It's a powerful tool, and Napoleon Hill obviously talks a lot about that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That's awesome, man. This was
How did we get to talking about Viagra?
Jay Campbell brought it up.
Yeah, it was huge.
Jay Campbell brought it up because he was talking about testosterone, and it was alarming though, the statistics of how much less sex is happening.
Yeah.
And so our population supply is going down, which is a horrible thing, right?
Right.
And so less sex is happening across the globe, but then specifically domestically here in the United States. And so if you have, but why is there less sex? Because we freaking have a bunch of fat slobs running around with no abs.
Yeah.
And not, I mean, I'm not trying to get.
Well, even the ones that are married and have wives and they're out of shape and again have their man tits and fucking muffin tops hanging off of their the sides there. Like if you are metabolically unhealthy, you most likely are not going to have a functional sex drive.
Yeah.
100%.
That's right.
And then what do you go to? You go to Viagra. You go to Cialis. You go to those things. And
try to
then
hack the
the
machinery
likelihood
that's
of
not
why we're not going to see him as an elderly guy, because he's probably going to die of cardiac
heart just
arrest
exploded.
while he's trying to
Correct.
while he's trying to have sex. But he might not even get the erection. Might get the erection, but ultimately pass away. Like, horrible situation. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's the reality. You choose. You choose.
I'm not going to go there, but a whole nother podcast, because he knows I could get conspiracy deep and shit. But like, I mean, they want the big pharma companies want you to stay weak. They want you to be unhealthy. Call it population control. I don't freaking know, but I think there's something to be said about that as well. We'll
Let's get to the full field.
I'm going to ask you one more question, bro. We got to wrap up for time and stuff, but our name of our show is Full Fueled. We talk about living a life that is full fueled. That's how you optimize. We have 6 pillars: fuel, movement, sleep, mind, spirit, and work. And when you have those 6 pillars dialed in, functioning 100%, you are full fueled. Tell me what that looks like for Chris Cavalini.
For me, it's just about getting up every day and trying to be the absolute best version of myself, doing my best, doing my actual best, which is going to entail getting out of my comfort zone often. I find that the easiest way to kind of change things up and venture out of one's comfort zone. Because even for me, even though I do things every day that are really uncomfortable and are considered to be uncomfortable for like normal people, after you do something for a certain period of time, eventually you kind of get used to it and it gets a little comfortable. But the easiest thing I think people can do, and the easiest thing that I do that basically helps condition my mind to be okay with change and embrace change, is constantly changing up my fitness. I do everything from hot yoga class to, again, high intensity functional interval training. I have this, you guys, Camp Tampa, have you ever heard of that place? Yeah. So I go to camp sometimes and I do the circuit class. We're using the self-propelled treadmills. Yeah. I just think it's very important to be proficient in all areas of fitness. I think running is important. I think having functional strength is important. But, you know, specifically in answer to that, if I had to sum it up, I honestly think that for me, it's just about maintaining the standard and consciously going through life looking for opportunities to elevate the standard. A lion will never eat grass, regardless of how long it's gone without food. It'll never do it. It'll never lower itself
cool shit,
to eat the same food as weaker, inferior animals. And, you know, on the same note, I will never lower my standards for the comfort of other people.
Next level answer. That was awesome, man. This was a fantastic conversation, brother. I look forward to many more in the future.
Thank you so much, Chris, man.
Real quick before we finish up, actually, tell everyone, listeners, where they can find you on Instagram, online, the name of your business, all that stuff. Just plug.
Yeah, Chris Cavalini, ChrisCavallini, across all social platforms, and the company's called Nutrition Solutions, nutritionsolutions.com. If you're interested in unfatting yourself or just simply looking better naked, hit us up.
Unfat yourself. Live full fueled.
Live full fueled. Live beyond limits, baby. Let's go.